A question that I get asked a lot is what inspired me or moved me to share my story and put it in book form? Because, there's one thing to like get up in front of a crowd and share your story, that's fleeting, but to put it in writing, in paper, in the books, essentially it lives on forever, right? My books will be in the universe, far longer than I will be. So I will say that in writing the first story, I was a little apprehensive at first, right? Because being vulnerable and sharing things, there's things that, I was embarrassed about, and things that, I was afraid how people might look at me after hearing or learning certain things. But for me, it still felt like it was the right thing to do, because if someone can learn from my misfortune or my trials and errors, and they don't have to go down the road that I had to go down, for me, that makes a difference, and also I feel that the more that we can share, the more we all learn that we're not alone and we're all going through something, right? Instagram is basically everyone's highlight reel. Everybody's happy, everyone's in love, everyone's successful. And really, about 49% of the time that's true, right? It's an ebb and flow. You have some days where everything's amazing, everything's perfect, and then you have other things that are not. And that's, part of seasons and going through things. And I feel that the more we could share, the better everything would be, right? Through the abuse, for me, it was a very scary time and a very confusing time, because I needed to deconstruct for myself what I was going through and what I had been through, how I got there, how did I meet this individual, and not pick up on things, and the things that I did pick up on, why did I choose to ignore them? And, now in dating, for me, you got one red flag and I'm out, because you know what? My safety and my peace is priceless, right? It's not worth it to me to take a risk um, when someone has, like a serious red flag. I'm not talking about like they chew with their mouth open, like that's annoying, but that's not necessarily a red flag unless you're my mom. But there's just I needed to understand, how I got there. And in the storytelling and in the deconstruction, I was able to connect it back to my relationship with my father, or lack thereof, right? And everyone always says, oh, it always is childhood, blah, blah, blah. But it's true, right? Like we are being programmed as children. When you look at them, they're sponges. They will watch you, they will mirror you, they will hear a sound and then look at you and be like, okay, how am I supposed to react to that? So it is very impactful, your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your grandparents, just all of your relationships are so important. And, it truly affects that, right? So I learned, and this is a simplification for the, the video, but I learned that I was essentially attracted to relationships that mirrored my relationship with my dad, which was me chasing and him abandoning me, and then me chasing and me thinking that if I could just be more or just be good and better and the perfect daughter, he would love me. And in actuality, I was already perfect, I was already whole, and I really wish that I could go back and just hug myself. And I was loved. My mom, my sisters, my family loved me so dearly, but it was like I was hyper focused on the one person. I'm like, they all love me, but you don't. What's wrong with me? So that in turn bleeds into all the relationships, essentially. However, but more importantly, the romantic relationships, right? And not everyone I dated was horrible. Most of them were not, and it's growing pains and, all the things like that. But this one individual, I believe, was able to pick up on all of that, because they're predators, and use that to his advantage. So the point of me sharing my story is to hopefully light a way so others can do the work, because there's no one that can do the work for you. You and I can work together, and I can show you the path, lead you to the path, ask you the right questions, but at the end of the day, only you can answer them, and only you can do the actual work that it will take to move forward and to become free and to be at peace. I have never been so at peace and so happy and so light, you know, even despite through the cancer, which came 5 months after, the whole abuse situation. And it's interesting because the first book I wrote in desperation. I wrote in coming from a place where I needed to understand. I was frantically trying to scream to like, how could this fucking happen, right? And the second book came from a very different place, a grounded place, but a place of profound, just profoundness. I would go to and from chemo, and I'm having this experience, and the whole world around me is just happening normally. So it's just this weird thing, and I'm facing my own mortality, right? Because I don't know that any of this is going to work. I don't know that I'm not going to die from chemo, right? Like, I could just have a heart attack just from the chemo, literally. I don't know that so every day I'm, at the time, a 38-year-old woman, and I'm supposed to be having the time of my life, free out of this relationship. I had the best summer ever with my friends, and just living my best life, and then smacked in the face with the cancer diagnosis. And I'm like, how does this happen? And obviously the cancer didn't just arrive, right? It's always been there, percolating and happening. So for me, it became all of these questions. How did this happen? It was never why me, because it didn't even matter at that point. I think I had one moment with my mom, on education day, with the oncologist, where we were waiting for them to come back in the room. And I said, I don't understand. I'm a good person, and I feel like this is just too much. And I quickly said, and I understand that being a good person doesn't exempt you from, things not going your way and bad things happening, but it just felt very cruel. And I made a decision that I wasn't going to let it break me, and that I wanted to grow through it. And if I got the blessing to make it on the other side, that I would do everything in my power to help other women and anyone get to the other side. But mainly women, because I'm a woman, right? So I connect with women, I understand, and there's just something that no one understands. The only girlfriends that understand what I'm talking about have been through something, right? So it's just the profoundness of when you realize that you are going to die, and it may be today versus when you're 90 or 150, right? Because I always tell myself I'm going to live to be 121. And at that point, I'll probably be like, all right, I'm good. Beam me up, right? It's very different when you're like, I haven't met my husband yet. I haven't had the children that I dream about yet. I haven't had certain experiences, and then I realize I may never have a wedding. I may never do any of these things. So all of this emotion just poured into the pages, because if that was going to be the last thing that I left on this earth, I wanted it to mean something, right? Like, we can chase all the materialistic things, none of it matters, right? So that is a little bit of why I wrote what I wrote, and why I share the way that I share. And I do get asked the question, will there be another book? And honestly, I think there will be. I believe it will be a Lighthouse series, obviously, because I'm now in book 2 and it's Lighthouse, so I think it will be a Lighthouse. And what I'm hoping for is that it will be my love story and all the goodness that has come and continues to come after this. And so much good is here and is happening. And I can't wait to share that with you all.